Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest HR on the Offensive live stream. It's me, Chris Howard from Lace Partners, and I am joined by the fabulous Marcus Uzabales. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Very well, thanks, Chris. Thank you for inviting me.
It's really, really good to have you on, mate. And I wanted to have a chat with you. Well, actually, you wanted to have a chat with me because we talked a few weeks ago about this concept of agile operating models. Now, we've been running a campaign which was it was middle of last year, middle of last year, running into the end of last year. And I'll pop it up on screen what it's called. It was called Demystifying HR Operating Models. There's a whole bunch of different activities that we've got. There's podcasts, there's live streams, there's some blogs that we've done, all looking at, that charting, how do you demystify it? What do other consultancies say? What do other businesses say around operating models and how to build an operating model? And we talk about different types of things like drivers. I know you're going to come to that in a minute. But I wanted to focus on this idea of agile operating models first. And for somebody who is a simple human being, could you perhaps demystify for me what are we talking about when we talk about an agile operating model?
I shall do my utmost, Chris. Yeah, so thank you. And certainly this is a hot topic for us and continues to be a hot topic both to our clients and to Lace. So a lot of organizations that we've been talking to want to implement an agile operating model. And what seems to be driving these conversations with our clients is that the traditional organization design under the Ulrich model, if you're familiar with that. So that's the division into HRBPs, your centers of expertise or centers of excellence, your HR shared services, is too inflexible or it's too rigid, given the pace of change that organizations are going through. So put simply, an agile operating model means setting the HR function up to success rather to deliver upon the business strategy. So it does that through designing for greater flexibility in how we can unlock our HR talent and our capability and then deploy them to where they're most needed and where they can add the most value.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so can we bring it to life a little bit? And can you explain a little bit like what an agile operating model might look like?
Absolutely. I'll answer that, and also kind of how you might get there as well. So the one kind of leads to the other. So a move to an agile operating model, it starts by freeing up capacity. So ultimately you need to ensure that you have the capacity to operate in a more agile way. So organizations tend to start by transferring the transactional work across to HR shared services. Some organizations call it HR operations, and that helps drive consistency and economies of scale around some of your core HR processes. A lot of organizations at this stage might choose to implement employee and manager self-service. So look at leveraging opportunities for automation to take away that transactional work and have it automated. And based on our research, we find that about 40 to 60% of work currently performed within an HR function can be regarded as transactional. So a lot of opportunity there to create additional capacity. So we start by transferring all of that transactional work out of the business-facing HR, your HR business partners, so it can be done centrally and it can be done well by your HR shared service function. And then that frees up your client-facing HR population to focus on some of the more value-add and strategic activities. So the next question, once you've transferred that work out and created that capacity, is how do you take advantage of the capacity that's been freed up? And we've seen those clients that have transferred the work out, some of them decide that they will set up some hybrid roles. So their HR business partner community will continue to perform their HRBP day job, but then with the additional capacity that's freed up, they might take on some project work in addition to that. Some of our clients decide that they want to go even further, so they create a dedicated pool of agile HR resources, and they focus entirely on projects. And the types of projects they can do annual projects, so your annual performance review, your comp cycle is a good example of that, as well as strategic projects. And the names that they give to this can differ, so it can be a problem-solving pool, HR delivery consultancy pool, but I'm going to call it an HR delivery pool just for the purposes of consistency. So what that does is, by creating the pool, they can focus on the highest priority projects that add the most value. And to anticipate your next question in terms of what are the highest priority projects, they're those that most contribute to the delivery of the business strategy or the people strategy, or that deliver a financial impact to the organization. And the benefit of having an agile HR delivery model is that you're able to take the best HR resource that has the capability and deploy them where they can add the most value. So if you've got an M&A, you can take the person within your agile operating model and deploy them to that project along with anyone else that has the requisite skills. So they're not locked into a particular role, particular function. They can be deployed where they are most needed and then redeployed, reassigned as priorities change over time.
I love that. And it's the flexibility piece, I think, is key, isn't it? Because we're going through, as you just mentioned, an M&A process. We don't just suddenly go, right, well, we've got to layer in a whole new sort of way of working. We can actually say, right, we're going to deploy you guys. You can be, I guess that's the term, agile. You can be that kind of flexible. You can have that flexibility so that organizations can then quickly pivot into, right, if our strategy is we're going to do lots of M&A activity, then we have the infrastructure built up for that. So that's quite interesting. So in terms of if I'm somebody watching this video now, I'm a chief people officer, I'm a CHRO, and I'm thinking, this is I want to get some of this. We want to get into this position as a business, or perhaps we're going into maybe it's an M&A process, and I'm trying to think about how do I make sure my operating model is fit for purpose for changes that happen within our organization. What's the sort of questions that I should be asking myself, do you think? I mean, you sort of touched on a few questions.
Indeed, earlier, but let's call those out as well. So what our clients tend to come to us to ask, so they see the advantages of the agile operation model. We've spoken to those already, but where they need support or where they need guidance or where we can help is how do you actually go about implementing that future state operating model? So how do you transfer the transactional work, that 40 to 60% that's performed, across to your HR shared service function to free up the capacity? How do you then set up your HR delivery pool? How do you determine what are the priority projects? And given you've got a limited number of people within this pool, how do you ensure that they are assigned to the projects where they can add the most value? And how do you then resource them to those projects so that you've got the people that are best able to contribute assigned to the best projects and then reassigned as the needs change? The good news is that this delivery model, from what you're hearing, it sounds very, very similar to the consulting model. So obviously being a consultancy specialist firm as well, we have a lot of opportunity and practical experiences to what this can look like in practice. The other types of questions that we get around the change management and communication. So a lot of organizations that are moving to an agile operating model, it's a significant shift in how the work is done, where it tends to be more rigid. There are very clearly defined roles. So we often support our clients in terms of identifying what are the pain points in the current operating model. What's the ambition for the future? What does the right operating model look like? And then help to build that change narrative too. And then as a CPO, it's also how do you convince the C-suite? How do you convince your peers that this is the right operating model for the HR function? So we also get a lot of questions around how do I build the value case? How am I able to convince our C-suite, our business, that this is the right opportunity, and then to help them quantify what are the benefits that can be realized in moving to this new operating model.
Okay, so just a final question then before we clock off for this particular live stream. If we're thinking about, so we've talked about examples like M&A activity, for example. You've talked about different types of business. I'm wondering if somebody, again, watching this is thinking, well, our business is in this type of industry or it's this type of size. Do we see that there are different approaches depending on industry, size, maybe mindset, culture? What do you think?
Great question.
Give our listeners a little bit, or our watchers a little bit more info.
Absolutely, yes. So what our experience at Lace has taught us that there is no one size fits all HR operating model for all organizations. So first and foremost, the HR operating model needs to align with the business strategy and what are the business drivers, because it needs to enable the delivery of your people strategy and your people plan. So Lace has done some research and published our thoughts on what the 4 different business drivers are, and hint there, agility is one of them, and what the implications of each of those drivers are for the HR operating model. So that's a great place to start if you'd like to learn a little bit more as to moving to what that target operating model would be. So I guess what I'm saying is that whilst an agile operating model might be the right solution for those organizations whose business driver is agility, or they're a certain place within their journey, if there are different priorities, different drivers, or if an organization is at a different point in its growth journey, it may need a different HR operating model. But the good news is that we'd be very, very happy to talk to those organizations to help them understand what's the right HR operating model for them, and then how do they get there.
Lovely. So a lot of information there. Appreciate that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this live stream. If you have any questions, if you want to pop Marcus a message on LinkedIn or drop him an email, please feel free to do that. If you do want to find out a little bit more about the campaign itself, so again, I'll pop it up just on screen very, very quickly. It's called Demystifying HR Operating Models, or Demystifying the HR Operating Model. If you go to the Lace Partners website, if you go to the campaign section, you'll be able to click on that and see all of that information, including the different business drivers. We've got a whole blog piece which talks about that, and the different hats that a CPO must wear and how they dial up and die down depending on the operating model in question, or where your business is as well and where your business drivers are. But from myself and from Marcus, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you next time on the HR on the Offensive live stream. Bye-bye.